Problem recognition is the first stage of consumer decision-making process. This influences the amount and type of information searched. As the level of involvement increases, the consumer moves from virtually no decision-making through to an extended decision-making process. Before devising a marketing strategy, a manager needs to be able to know the extent of problem recognition. This should be objectively measured where possible. Finally, the manager is in a position to devise marketing strategy that take into account the degree of problem recognition present. Now comes the need of problem recognition. To understand how consumers behave during this early stage of decision making, it is necessary to pose a number of questions. Do consumers readily recognize that they have a need for the product or service? If not, can it be activated? What are the major influences on consumers, and how does this vary from one consumer to the next? How can this knowledge be used to devise a suitable marketing strategy? Now comes the types of consumer decisions. First is problem recognition and the next is purchase involvement. Purchase involvement can be complex to understand. It can be influenced by the interaction of individual consumers, the particular product, and the specific situation, as we discussed in the previous lecture. When involvement is low, such as when habitual decision making is being used, there is very little actual decision making. Brand loyal customers are habitual decision makers. There is a single preferred decision to the problem. Limited decision making covers the middle ground between habitual and extended decision making. Sometimes one aspect only is considered. For example, a search for the lowest price brand. Now comes the extended decision making. In extended decision making usually involves both internal and external search for information, and the decision making can become very complex. Products such as holidays, cars, homes, and personal computers usually involve high involvement decision making. Now comes the purchase involvement and type of decision. As the consumer moves from very low level of purchase involvement to high level of purchase involvement, the decision making becomes increasingly complex. A purchase involvement is a continuum, and it is also worthwhile to note that habitual, limited, and extended decision making are areas along this continuum and not distinctive points. Habitual decision making is in effect no decision at all. A single brand choice can solve the problem and requires a very little searching for information. Extended decision making is at another end of the continuum, where a number of brands within the product category can reduce the discrepancy between the actual state and the desired state. The consumer is compelled to search for information both internally and externally in order to reach a purchase decision. Fortunately, few purchases are in this area. However, some example could be a car, a house, or a computer. A purchase in the habitual area often requires no or very little decision making, where in contrast, a purchase in the extended decision making area requires complex decision making. This is seldom any post-purchase dissonance with habitual decision making and very little evaluation. In contrast with extended decision making, there is quite often some form of post-purchase dissonance, which can also involve complex evaluation as to whether or not the correct decision was made. Now comes the marketing strategies and types of consumer decision. Problem recognition involves recognizing the existence of a discrepancy between the consumer's desired state, what the consumer would like, and the actual state, what the consumer perceives as already existing. Both desired states and the actual state are influenced by consumers' lifestyle and the current situation. If the discrepancy between these two states is sufficiently large and more important, the consumer will begin to search for a solution to the problem. Now comes the process of problem recognition. Here, a desired consumer lifestyle is the way the consumer would like to feel, and the actual is the condition the consumer perceives him or herself to be in at this point of time. And the current situation is temporary factors affecting the consumers, and the desired state is the condition the consumer would like to be in at this point of time. Now comes the process of problem recognition. First is nature of discrepancy. If there is no difference, then customer is satisfied and the desired state exceeds the actual state, and or actual state exceeds the desired state. There will be a problem recognized and the search decision initiated. Desire to resolve the recognized problem. The discrepancy, if the discrepancy is large and the problem is not important to the consumer, they may not move to the next stage, information search. Depends on two factors: the magnitude of discrepancy between the desired state and the actual state, the relative importance of the problem. Types of consumer problems: active problems and inactive problems. Types of consumer problems and required actions. First is routine problems, expected require immediate solution. Problem type like need food, need fuel, etc. Emergency, not expected, require immediate solution. Example, flat battery in car plus need to get to work. Planning problems, expected, don't require immediate solution. Car needs a service but too much on at the moment, will wait for signs or until I have time. Evolving problems, not expected, don't require immediate solutions. Car will not need replacing sometime, will not give problems for ages yet, no problem at this stage, should investigate roadside assistance insurance, cover one day. Factors that influence the desired state. A number of factors beyond the control of the marketing manager can affect the problem recognition. Culture, social class may mean, the example, cleanliness is an important desired state. Reference groups are a major influence and can change. Example, after graduation, when you are working, one of your main reference group will change very quickly. Family, household influences, brand purchased. A sudden change in financial status can change an individual desired state. A previous purchase, such as buying house, will trigger the need for a large range of new purchases. Individual development is associated with change in the taste, etc., and is dependent of other changes such as getting older or having more money. Individuals' motives can influence their buying consumption. The situation, refer to previous lecture notes. Factors influencing the actual state: past decisions, normal depletion, product brand performance, individual development, emotions, the efforts of consumer groups, availability of products, the current situation. Now that's it for the today's lecture. We'll cover the next further in the next lecture.